Welcome back to an episode of the Cool Your Jets podcast. We're your hosts, Ben Blessington and Michael Ania. Back with another podcast. This time, obviously, we're in the dead of the offseason, and Jet X has just launched their offseason simulator. Michael, first, how you doing, man? And second, why don't you explain to our listeners what this is and what we're going to be doing today?
I'm doing really good, and I'm so excited to finally put out this off-season app that we've been working on for quite a long time. Ryan Gray did a great job working with us putting this together, and I think it's really cool. I definitely, because there are so many great simulators out there where you can do mock drafts, free agency, cuts, all these different things, but there isn't really a place where you can do all of them at once. So I wanted to, and we all want to put together an app where you can sort of do all of those things at the same time. Start off with your Darnold trade, your trade down in the draft, your Watson trade, and then do your cuts and your free agency and the mock draft all in one place. So it's something that we've been working on for quite a while, and I'm thrilled with how it's turned out. When I first saw it, after just talking over ideas, and then Ryan gave us the first draft of it, I was blown away. It was so awesome, and I've been running through it so many times, testing it out, and just having fun with it, going through so many different scenarios over the past few weeks. So I'm so excited for people to finally get the chance to use it. You can use it at jetsxfactor.com. As long as you're subscribed, you can get your first month free. So you can give it a try and you don't have to commit to anything as long as you make an account and subscribe with that first month free. So and I'm really excited to go through some simulations with you. We're going to do a few different scenarios. We'll do a Deshaun Watson scenario and see how the offseason plays out from there. We'll do a trade down from 2 version. We'll do a more standard version with just trading Darnold. So
Right.
I think that's what we'll do. 3 different scenarios, starting off with that main first domino of how you sort of handle the quarterback position, that number 2 pick, and go from there and see how everything plays out.
Yeah, we're going to be doing the ideal offseason blueprint for 3 different scenarios for the Jets. And they're at a bit of a crossroads right now. Obviously, the quarterback is the most important decision that they have to make this offseason. And with Wentz being dealt this week, all eyes have turned to the Jets and Darnold. And I think the compensation for Wentz was maybe a little bit less than people thought. It would be a 3 and then a future 2 that can turn into a 1. But honestly, the fact that the Jets are going to get most likely at least a second-round pick for Darnold is great, considering how poorly he played this year. Maybe they could steal a 1 from one of these teams. In this simulator, they're limited to second overall or second round picks. And as a reminder, if you go to the Jets X Factor YouTube, you can watch the video portion of this podcast, which is just the shared screen running through this simulator. So yeah, let's just hop right into it. Let's go with the least likely of the 3, which in our eyes is keeping Darnold. But if they do keep Darnold, obviously Douglas is going to have to be aggressive. I mean, he made that promise to Sam Darnold's parents that he was going to surround him with playmakers and protection, and obviously they didn't do that last year. And you can't give Darnold any more years where it's unclear of the type of player he is. I don't think they ultimately stick with him, but if they do, which is more likely than I think some would admit, just given that he is a good fit in the scheme, he is only 24, he has a boatload of potential. But if they're going to do it, I would imagine they would trade down and go all out, give him no excuses, give him a ton of protection and a ton of help. So in some ways, outside of maybe trading for Watson, I think the Jets would be the most aggressive in this situation. So let's just start it with trading down from 2. I don't think they would stay at 2, just given the value there. I think the Jets can get a ton of picks back. So just looking at what the Jets could theoretically get for the second overall pick in this simulator, there's an offer from the Falcons, which gives us their first pick, their second pick, and their 4th round pick all this year. There's an offer from the Lions, which is their first, second, third, fourth, and a third next year. There's an offer from the Panthers, which is their first, second, third, fourth, and a 2 next year. The Broncos, first, second, third, fourth, and a 2 and a 6 next year. And then lastly, the Washington football team, which is a first, second, third, another third, a fourth, and then a 1 next year. Michael, out of all of these picks or teams and offers, I guess, which one's the most intriguing in your eyes?
Well, I think what's interesting is that, and just looking at these offers, but also hypothetically, if this did happen, I think the further down you go in the first round, obviously the more picks or the more value you're going to get out of the additional picks you're getting in addition to that first rounder. So I guess it depends on if you do get multiple offers, I guess it would depend on what the Jets are looking for. Are they looking for quantity? Are they looking to stay high in the first round and just throw in a couple extra picks, because that Falcons trade is pretty interesting. If you can hop down, because obviously if you're trading down, you're probably not taking a quarterback. You're probably sticking with Sam Darnold like we are in this scenario. So if you move down 2 spots with the Falcons are going to be taking a quarterback. Presumably the Dolphins would be trading with someone who'd take a quarterback. And that could happen, and then you could sit here at number 4 and have a choice to take a really good prospect, and then you could throw in a couple extra picks in terms of, at least in this one, the second round pick and the fourth round pick, and not lose out on anything just for moving back a couple spots. And then there are some other trades where you lose out on more talent in the first round by dropping back a few more spots, but you throw in a lot more in addition to that. So I guess it depends on what the goal is, but I guess for the sake of this one, let's go with the Falcons trade, because I like the opportunity you can get up there to potentially get one of the best non-quarterback prospects, if not the best, if 3 quarterbacks go in the top 3 spots, and you could throw in a high second round pick and a 4th rounder. So let's do this one.
Exactly.
There are a lot of different ways you can go.
It makes sense, but the Jets virtually lose nothing because, as you mentioned, presumably all top 3 teams will be going with a quarterback. So the Jets don't really miss out on the player they may have targeted it to if they weren't going to take a quarterback, and they just add draft capital. Out of all these, in my eyes, I would actually say the Panthers offer is the best, because you only move down to 8. You pick up their 2nd, 3rd, and 4th this year, and you pick up a 2nd next year, which I think would be a tremendous offer. But we'll stick with Michael's gut on this one and go with the Falcons. And then next, it's re-signs, and this is probably the same for all 3 of them, but we'll run through it on this time at least. Let's fly through these real quick. There's some that are obviously more important than others, but we're going to go alphabetical order. Josh Adams, the running back, who, I don't want to say was impressive, but he at least flashed sometimes. I think maybe it was just because we were watching Frank Gore for the
carries, but he was great at the ones he did get.
Right.
So we'll bring him back.
And he's a good fit for the scheme. I mean, he's one of the only running backs the Jets have that brings that speed to get to the outside and cut it upfield. Josh Andrews, he was terrible. He's not coming back.
Get out of here.
Basham is more of a 3-4 outside linebacker, and I think if there's a team,
I agree. We can let him go just because of scheme. I like Basham, but scheme wise, I don't think it's a good fit.
I would explore it because I actually do think he has a lot of promise as a pass rusher, but maybe you could try him at a 5 tech, but I think he would have an opportunity to potentially start elsewhere. Daniel Brown, nope. See ya. Trevon Conley, Coley. Don't even remember you playing for the team. Pat Elflein, interesting one. Michael, you're very against him. Okay. Matthias Farley, some depth maybe at safety.
Pat Elflein did have 2 nice blocks that people saw on Twitter, but he plays a lot more than 2 plays, and he was bad on the other 300. So
would you bring back Farley?
Pass. We can bring him back for.
I'm gonna bring up a counter here. I'm gonna bring up a really quick counter here, because Farley makes sense from special teams perspective, and I think you had a poll, maybe it was last week or 2 weeks, talking about Bradley McDougald, saying, let's see if we can get 100%. You were doing who should the Jets bring him back?
Yeah.
And you were trying to get 100% of people to say that they wouldn't bring Bradley McDougald back, because I think in your eyes it was like, why would they bring him back? He was pretty bad. But I think it's important to keep in mind that McDougald is familiar with the scheme. He's probably the most natural strong safety right now.
It seemed like he's familiar with it the way he was playing.
Well, he was playing in a different scheme.
It was different.
Yeah, exactly.
That is true.
And for 2 years, $5 million is your third safety?
He is going on to 30. I think he was really bad last year.
All right, we'll stick with Farley for the special
We'll pass on him, but I guess I could see the appeal just with the veteran experience. We'll go with Farley, though, because of special teams value.
Flacco and Gore, they can go to the retirement home. Hager, he's gone. Hewitt, I don't think they bring back. I think that he's
Flacco. We have him at 1.8 million,
but he's not. But he's not a good scheme fit. I mean, he doesn't threaten anybody with mobility.
Probably.
So, and I think there's some options of free agency as well. Neville Hewitt, I think he'll have opportunity to start elsewhere as a 3-4 outside linebacker or inside linebacker. He's just more of a thumper, and the Jets are looking for speed and pass coverage. So he's gone. Frank Louvu, not a scheme fit. Arthur Millette.
I would bring back Millette. I think he has.
I think training camp body,
valuable.
May. Now, there's not an option on this, but I would actually explore the franchise tag with May. But we'll go ahead and re-sign him. I just think that it is something to explore. It's not going to be too expensive for the Jets, around $10 million. And it buys you another year just to see if Davis and May go well together, because I think there are some questions in my head about, are they they're not necessarily too similar, but I think Davis, at least as a college prospect, he came out and a lot of people thought he was going to be more of the free safety,
right,
play the middle of the field, which is perfect for this defense, but that's also May's strengths. So now Davis is kind of sliding more into that strong safety role. So there's some question marks there. So maybe you franchise May, see how they play. If Davis is balling out, then maybe you trade May. I don't know, but we'll go for the all intents and purposes. We will re-sign him. We already passed him.
I agree. I think the franchise tag is what happens and probably the best route. And then hopefully he plays well again and you extend him from there. But we'll definitely re-sign him for all intents and purposes here, like you said.
Perriman, I think he's gone. Poole.
We're bringing back Poole. Resign Poole.
I'm
right
vetoing
now.
this. I'm vetoing.
What?
We get one veto. I'm saying we're not bringing back Poole. And
why?
Not because I would be against it, but if you read about how close K'Wan Williams is with Robert Saleh, it just makes all the sense in the world. He's run the system. He's about as good as Brian Poole is. They both have some health issues, but Williams was fantastic. Both him and Poole were both fantastic in 2019. I just think that makes more sense. And at $7 million a year, I obviously am for it. He did play under Dan Quinn.
For this one, we'll go with Williams, but next time we'll go with Poole.
Okay. I mean, the re-signs will just fly through on the other ones. We'll just address it on this one. Jeff Smith, goodbye.
No.
Vincent Smith,
bye. Hold on. Maybe Vincent. I would like Vincent Smith.
All right, we'll bring back all Vincent.
Special potential as a returner. I like his speed. Gase really didn't use him at all this year, so I do like. Vincent Smith
all right. He's got a little bit of after catch. All right, we'll bring back Vincent Smith. Ross Travis is gone.
No one knows you.
Jordan Jenkins, not a scheme fit. Great team guy, solid player. I just don't think it makes any sense to bring him back. Lange, I'm bringing back Lange. And the only reason is the Jets currently have no outside linebacker depth whatsoever. And I think Lange's a guy who maybe isn't the best player in the world, but he's certainly a hustle player. And he gives it his all. He's not bad as a depth guy, and he's a great special teamer. So, I think
that's fine.
He's a good guy to bring back. Kyron Brown, he's gone. Bennett Jackson is the last one, and he's not returning as well. So those are our re-signs. Josh Adams, Matthias Farley.
We don't want Frank Gore.
I think we're pretty sure on Frank Gore. Millette, May, Vincent Smith, and Harvey Lange. So those are the guys we're bringing back that are currently free agents. Now, really quickly, let's do some roster cuts here. Michael, out of all the guys here, there's only really a few that make much sense to be cut. We might return to one of them after we see what happens in the free agency market. In this simulator, free agents do decline you, so we don't really know what's going to happen there. But heading into free agency, I think there's one that we can all agree on. Henry Anderson, not a scheme fit, not a great player. His wife is an interesting Twitter follower. So I'm going to say we cut Henry Anderson.
Yeah, we'll do the Anderson cut every time. I think there are a couple here we can do every time. I think Anderson and Lewis are pretty much givens to me.
I think they bring back Van Roten, not necessarily because of his performance. I just think he's a better fit in the scheme, and they have to choose between him and Lewis. He's cheaper. You're not worried about him starting.
But then in addition to those two, there are a couple different ones we could play out differently.
Okay.
Throughout each of these, I think Crowder and Fant are two that right now I say with this one. Well, we're doing the trade down one here, so I think we're going to get a lot of extra pieces.
I think
potentially fill holes. So maybe this is the one where we do cut them, because I think both of them can earn those numbers, and we will have one scenario where we keep them. But it's definitely worth exploring what you could do without them. So what do you think?
No, I don't think so. Here's why. I think Fant, you go into free agency, and if a tackle agrees, then maybe you go back and cut Fant because you can do that afterwards. Crowder, I say he's the only receiver here that really has any chemistry with Darnold, maybe a little bit of Mims. I think you keep him. For the Watson scenario, I think that's the one where maybe we cut Crowder. I think the concern is that Crowder is obviously a fantastic slot receiver, but in this offense, they don't, Kyle Shanahan doesn't use 11 personnel that much. I mean, the Jets were towards the top of the league in 11 personnel, which is 3 receivers last year. And this year, they're going to be in the bottom half of that. A lot of 12 personnel, a lot of 2 receiver sets. But I think Crowder is such a great player, and I think he, does fit the scheme in other ways. I think he's underrated after the catch. He's slippery. He can get open. He's really the only proven receiver on this roster. So I think we keep both of them for now. I think Fant, we might circle back as we head into the free agents now.
That makes sense. And I am all aboard keeping Crowder no matter what. I just think he's a very underrated player. But I agree. For the Watson one, we'll go with cutting Crowder for that one and see if we can get a bigger name receiver. But we'll stick with him for now. And I guess we can cut a few more fringe people just to open up a little bit more space. How about Doxson? We can get Doxson out. Josh Malone. So that's another couple million. Ryan Griffin, I guess we can take him out and look for a different tight end free agency.
Yes, definitely.
And I guess in addition to that, is there anyone else who comes to mind? Corey Ballantyne, I guess we can get rid of him. And that should do it. There's a few more million there to go into free agency
Sounds
now.
good. All right, let's go into free agency.
So we'll need a backup quarterback.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to bring up. The backup quarterback is interesting because it's obviously a need that nobody's talking about. The Jets drafted Morgan last year, and I don't think he's obviously not ready to start. I don't know if he's even ready to have that QB2 role. He was pretty much QB4 last year. I think he's ready to be QB3 now. It's a very slow progression with him. But if you're bringing back Darnold, because look, if you draft a rookie QB, it makes sense to have a veteran on the team that's has starting experience that Morgan doesn't have. But if you're bringing back Darnold, the argument can be made to just save the cap space, build around Darnold, and have Morgan as the backup. But I think it's important to remember that Nick Mullins does have experience in the system. So, Michael, what are your thoughts on the backup quarterback with this scenario?
I think it is interesting here because you could also think about, not just getting a backup, but maybe trying to push him with some competition. So maybe going a little bit more expensive to try and get a better option who might be able to compete with him a little bit harder.
Jameis, and just have the most interceptions of any team in the league?
You got to start the opposing defense every week, no matter what. If the Jets had that combo, that would be interesting for sure. But I do like you said about Mullins, though. But I think we can do that for a different scenario.
Right.
We're just looking for a pure backup. So let's have some fun and go with Geno Smith. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
I guess. Who do you think?
I would actually go Mullins.
Fitzpatrick idea. It's kind of jumping out to me. I know it sounds hilarious, but he in Miami kind of played that role really well. I think. Maybe Tyrod Taylor, 1 year, $5 million.
I think Taylor makes a lot of sense if you draft Fields, because I think, you kind of want a backup that emulates some of the strengths that your starter has, and Taylor's really the only guy in this free agent list.
Andy Dalton, $3 million, 1 year. This is a tough one because it seems like everything we're doing has some storyline attached to it.
Yeah. All right, let's go. Let's try to sign Dalton. Dalton accepted. Yes. All right, Andy Dalton is there. We go. It's our first free agent signing. Now let's go to the receivers, and here it's interesting because obviously last year Douglas didn't prioritize the receiving room. As Oscar explained in last week's podcast, the Jets aren't going to be really looking for an Allen Robinson type of receiver. He even really questioned Denzel Mims' fit, that they're going to have to really carve out a role and maybe look at what Kyle Shanahan did with Julio Jones in Atlanta, because that's the type of receiver that Mims is, more of that possession, that jump ball type of guy, contested catch. He's not really a guy who gets a lot of separation. In this offense, it's a lot of separation and yards after the catch. I do think Mims is underrated after the catch, but the Jets are going to be looking for somebody who's shiftier and can create plays after the catch. Obviously, the one that jumps out to everybody's Do Samuel. But yes. Michael, who do you think if the Jets – Okay, we'll start with Curtis Samuel.
Oh, and let them know how much cap space we have.
Right. Okay, so we are currently, after signing Andy Dalton and making our releases, we're at $70 million, $70.5 million. So Curtis Samuel, 3 years, $36 million deal. Let's offer it.
Shot. Yes.
And he accepted.
2 for 2.
Okay. Curtis Samuel is now on the team.
Good so far. So we have our trio here of Curtis Samuel, Crowder, and Denzel Mims at receiver. And we have the 4th overall pick, which will probably not be a wide receiver, but we do have 2 high second-round picks, so we could have a really nice 4 deep wide receiver room.
And I'm glad you actually brought up the 4th overall pick, because we're not at the draft yet, but I think it's something to think about, at least with just that 1st overall pick. Sewell is probably going to be there. Now we'll see what happens in the mock draft. But if he is there, then that makes all the sense in the world why you'd cut Fant and maybe don't pursue a tackle in free agency. So it does kind of alter how you would look at free agency. But who knows? Maybe the Dolphins stay at 3 and take Sewell. So I guess maybe you wait to cut Fant afterwards. But maybe, I guess, in this scenario, we stay away from the tackles just to kind of see what happens.
Although I think we still can at least try to see if we can get either Taylor Moton or Darrell Williams. Then if we can just cut Fant and you could cross tackle off the list. And then
I guess take a corner or something. Yeah.
Go to receiver.
Okay. So now when you look at the running backs, I can't imagine Douglas is going to invest much in the running back position. And there's 2 ways to kind of look at that. Obviously, he values draft capital more. So in some perspective, it would make sense for him to just sign a kind of a cheap veteran running back who can just take the rock, hit the hole, get the yards, whatever. And I think a guy, James White, Tevin Coleman, Mike Davis, Jamal Williams, Marlon Mack, those type of guys, I think they actually will end up signing, because I think He's not going to obviously invest big money into it, but I think he would just, take a little flyer on a veteran and just start him. And then maybe you draft somebody a little bit later. The alternative path is that he doesn't value it, so he's not going to pay it, and he's just going to have rookies and young guys on rookie contracts there. Michael, what do you think about the running back position?
Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to go for one of these mid-tier signings. I don't think they're going to just completely ignore it and go with P. Ryan, Johnson, Adams, rookie. There are some solid names here in this middle of the pack market that I think they could go for. Jamal Williams is my favorite, but also, like you mentioned, Marlon Mack, Mike Davis is here.
So who should we offer?
Some good options here. Jamal Williams is my guy. Are you on board with that for
yeah,
2
I'm
years,
on board.
10
2
million?
years, 2 years, 10 million, and he has decided to sign elsewhere.
Wow.
Well, Jamal, you're dead to us. But in the next,
all right, let's go with Mike
path,
Davis. 3 years, 10 million.
Mike Davis
he's
decided
gone
to sign
too.
elsewhere.
1 year, 4 million for Mack. Let's give that a shot.
Marlon Mack accepts.
Marlon Mack's our guy.
All right, Marlon Mack is the running back for Sam Darnold's Jets. I guess Breida was another option as well. Played in San Francisco. Now, Kyle Juszczyk, Michael, yes. I think me and you both on board with signing Juszczyk. 2 years, $8 million. Let's see if he accepts. And he did. So Kyle Juszczyk is now on board. It's the Jets building it up with the running back and fullback. And now you look at the tight end market. And I know, Michael, a few weeks ago, we did a podcast talking about free agents. And I think me and you both kind of decided they would stay away from the top free agents. But I will at tight end. But I will say, Jonnu Smith in this offense as the next George Kittle, and you pair him with Chris Herndon, especially after hearing Oscar talk about the amount of 12 personnel they're going to try to run. That is more important than a slot receiver in this offense. A second tight end is more important than a slot receiver. So if you sign a guy like Jonnu, then Herndon becomes your second tight end, and then I think the Jets are really strong up front. So I would be curious in signing
if we can get Jonnu here. We already signed Curtis Samuel. What do you think about if we can get him here? Cutting Crowder at this point.
I think if they get John, if John accepts, we cut Crowder. If not, we move on. Maybe sign Trey Burton. Okay.
All right, let's go for John.
5 years, $40 million.
$40 million. He's our stud.
He's our stud. So we can go ahead and cut. Oh, but Crowder is we can't cut.
Oh, we used up our cuts already.
We're foolish. We shouldn't have burned through them. Well, it's whatever. Okay, John's gonna have all.
Can't have enough weapons.
Yes. Okay. So we won't cut Crowder then, and we guess we blew it on Fant too. That was kind of dumb. All right, whatever. We're all learning. All right, now the offensive line. Now this is where obviously the Jets I would imagine, are going to spend the most of their money. I think Joe Thuney makes the most sense. I think that there really isn't. Well, I don't want to jinx it. The Jets have the most money. They have the need. They have the interest. They wanted him last year. I just think it makes all the sense in the world. He's a perfect scheme fit. He's young. He's durable. He hasn't missed a single game. I think Joe Thuney makes all the sense. I think the Jets outbid everybody for Joe Thuney, unless it gets absurd, over $16 million a year or something like that. Then maybe I can see him backing out. But I think Joe Thuney is the apple of Joe Douglas's eyes.
5 years, 76.8, and he accepts for about $15 million a year. So we're at $27.1 million in cap space.
Just on the offense. Just on the offense, we're at $27 million.
Even touch defense.
Now we could, in this scenario, you could cut Crowder. I think you probably would if you signed Jonnu and Samuel. But we'll keep him for now, I guess. Do you go after Lindsley, the center?
At this point, I think we pass.
Okay. All right. So we're done with the offensive side of the ball. We got our guard. We got a tight end.
We did go heavy on offense here. So I think on defense, we should think about probably one big edge guy and then go cheaper at the cornerback position.
So who do you want to offer at edge? Because I don't think Shaq Barrett makes it to free agency. Trey Hendrickson is interesting. 26, 4-3 defensive end, but you kind of have to weigh this year's production versus years past. Carl Lawson is, I know, a favorite of yours.
I think we can start Lawson. 4 years, 35 here, so almost about 9 per year, and he signs elsewhere. So we're going to have to find vengeance somehow. There are some good cheap options. We could go with Romeo Okwara here as a fallback, or we could go with Hendrickson. We can go with Hendrickson here. Let's try him.
I think
4 years, $30 million.
Do you think he's?
You don't want to give him a shot? Or 3 years, $30 million. So actually about 10 per year. I think it's worth it.
All right.
It is a little high.
Well, he declined
elsewhere, so it makes it easy for us.
Yeah.
We could go with actually Kerry Hyder here.
That's what I was going to go.
A cheap op.
And he decided elsewhere.
How could he spurn his former coach?
Wow. That is vile. Okay, I guess in this situation, the Jets would probably go cheap, veteran type of guy, and then draft somebody. Michael, any of these guys jump off the page here? I think they have to sign somebody. Alden Smith, Dietrich Wise, Olivier Vernon.
Smith did have a pretty good season. We could give 1 year, $5 million. I think that's a worthy shot.
Wow, he signed.
None of these edge rushers want to play in this defense.
Yeah, Melvin Ingram. No, that's too much money for Melvin Ingram. Well, I
Solomon
guess
Thomas?
no, he's not really an edge. We're looking for more of that. Okay, let's try $9 million. I think in this situation,
Olivier Vernon can still play. He still
but
play.
at
Only
9
1
million.
year. 9 is pretty high. It is only 1 year though. I guess at this point we got to give it a shot. Everyone is just not interested in us, and even he doesn't want to play here.
All right, so no edge rushers want to play for Sam Darnold's Jets. That's what happens when you try to keep Sam Darnold. I think we can move on. Vinny Curry, maybe.
Vinny Curry doesn't want to play here. Does Griffin want to play here?
No, we don't. We're not going to offer them. We're going to draft an edge.
Try Everson Griffin.
No, we're going to draft an edge.
Everson Griffin, 33. 1 year, $5 million. Come on.
Yes. Oh, there you go. Everson Griffin accepted. Okay, there we go. That was embarrassing.
All right, so the defensive side not playing out too good.
Oh, there were more edges up here. Okay, well, whatever. Yes, so I think the Jets have their front line and their offense set in free agency. Now it turns to the linebacker position. I think they will try to sign a Will. I think they'll probably try to dump some money into a Will linebacker. I think the Sam linebacker, you take off in nickel packages. I think Saul is going to run a lot of nickel, so I think they can maybe draft somebody there or go cheaper. There are some good linebacker options for the Jets. Obviously, Jayon Brown. You're a big fan of Nicholas Morrow from the Raiders. Quan Alexander will most likely be a free agent from the Saints, has experience in solid defense. But I know you're not really a big fan of him. And they could also go Tyus Bowser from Baltimore. Michael, who do you think we should offer here?
I think Morrow makes a lot of sense. I've talked a lot about him on Twitter recently. He's a guy who I think should be pretty cheap because he doesn't have a ton of starting experience. But when he has played the past couple of years, his coverage has been really good, especially last season. He was one of the top coverage linebackers. I think he really fits their needs. So
he declined. So I guess
he declined us. So I don't like him anymore. You won't see any more tweets about him from me. So he's probably not going to get as big of a deal because I've been his biggest supporter. So goodbye to him. And Alex Anzalone from the Saints is actually a pretty good coverage linebacker. Another guy who hasn't really started, but he can cover. 3 years, $15 million, 26 years old.
Would you explore Bowser, or do you think Bowser's too expensive?
At this point, we only have $22.1 million left.
All right, fine. We'll go with Anzalone. Bang.
Yeah, there we go. All right, I like that signing at 5 previous.
All right, we got
17.1 left.
There's 17 million left. I think the Jets would sign kind of a cheap guy who can start here, just a cheap free agent here. Devondre Campbell's interesting. Kevin Pierre-Louis played for the Jets a few years ago. Do you think we should sign another linebacker, or do you think they
I do think that would make sense. Pierre-Louis has quietly been really good in coverage the past couple of years. 2 years, $6 million. We can try that.
He's assigned elsewhere. Right, Campbell accepted. All right, who has experience in Jeff Ulbricht's defense? Right. So the defense is coming together. Now it's just corners and safeties. Michael, what are we doing at cornerback? We decided not to bring back Brian Poole, so we better get K'Wan Williams to sign, because if he doesn't, he accepted. Okay, good. So K'Wan Williams is now a New York Jet. They need an outside corner. We have $7 million left in space. I would imagine in this scenario, the Jets are probably cutting Crowder. We messed it up, whatever. Probably Fant as well, depending on where they're picking. At that 4 spot, if Sewell's there, it makes a lot of sense as well. So I don't think they're going to go all the way down. But they have $7 million to spend here on a corner. Michael, who catches your eye here?
Yeah, so I think at this, obviously we're going to be cheap at this point. So looking at some of the names on here, there are some guys who I think are going to not going to be paid that much, who actually were pretty decent the past couple years. Michael Davis of the Chargers is one that stands out. He's put up pretty good numbers the past couple years, only 26. 2 years, $12 million on here. Witherspoon with the Niners. He's been injured a lot and has been up and down. He had some good numbers. Rasul Douglas has the Joe Douglas connection. He's
so
1 year, $3 million on here.
Davis, Douglas, or Witherspoon?
Let's try Michael Davis. 2 years, $12 million.
He decided to sign elsewhere. So Douglas and Witherspoon?
Let's go try Witherspoon.
2 years, 2 years, $14 million. That's pretty expensive.
All right, let's go with Rasul Douglas. All right, let's try Kevin King. 1 year, $5 million. He's not
Kevin King accepted.
All right,
there we go.
Our secondary is not going to be good.
And now we have to sign a kicker, lastly. Randy Bullock, or is he not worth it at all?
Well, I guess he's the only guy we could afford, so we have to go.
I didn't even, so we have to draft a kicker.
And he doesn't even want to sign with us, so we're going to have a kicker disaster again. So
all right.
Business as usual with the Jets.
Yeah, exactly.
No cornerback, no kicker.
Maybe there's somebody in the draft that catches our eyes. So,
all right, so here we are.
Picking at 4, both quarterbacks are still available, but we're not doing that because Sam Darnold is going to be the quarterback in this scenario. Sewell is off the board. So I believe it was Trevor Lawrence, Sewell, and who? Who went? What? Jamar Chase. Sorry, Jamar Chase. Okay. So on the board, obviously, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Kyle Pitts, Christian Darrisaw, Caleb Farley, Michael. I think we did this trade thinking that Sewell was going to be here. So now we've got a little bit of a curveball in draft night. Where do you see the Jets going here? I think, okay, if this is real life, they're trading down again because Fields and Wilson are both on the board. But let's just pretend that that doesn't exist.
Yeah,
Who would you take in this
I
situation?
think you'd probably go. It's tough. I think you'd probably go with the receiver here. Probably Devontae Smith.
Not
situation.
Darrisaw
It is
or
tough.
Slater
I guess you could also go with the tackle and then cut Fant later.
or corner. Caleb Farley, Surtain.
What would you do? You can make this pick.
This is a tough one. This is a very tough one. So we cut Crowder in our head, and not really in the simulator, but in our head we say we cut Crowder. We signed Johnny Smith, so Pitts is off the board. I mean, I guess we go with the receiver. I'm tempted by one of these corners. I kind of want to go with Caleb Farley, or just go really crazy and take J.C. Horn at 4, who I kind of have this weird feeling is going to be the first corner taken off the board. But we'll leave him on because I think he might be there at 23 in the simulator. I think in this situation, Douglas would probably take an offensive lineman and cut Fant.
Yeah. So let's do that.
You want to go Darrisaw or Slater? Darrisaw's got some versatility, and he can play guard too.
All right, we'll go with him then.
Okay, Christian Darrisaw. Now, look, if Sewell's there, you can sub him in between. It could be Sewell or Darrisaw. For the purpose of this, it'll be Darrisaw. Now we're sitting at 23. A lot of guys that come off the board, but Micah Parsons is still there. The Jets did in this situation did pay 2 linebackers. Zaven Collins, another linebacker. What do you think here, Michael? I mean, could go with a receiver with Kadarius Toney, Rashad Bateman. I think the edge is probably where I would lean. I'd be leaning towards Jalen Phillips from Miami. There's also Gregory Rousseau is there as well.
Yeah, I think this is a good spot to go with the edge.
Yeah, what do you think? I'm thinking Phillips. That's who I think he's probably my favorite out of the class.
Yeah, we can go there.
And we got spurned by every edge rusher, so we need to go there anyways. Okay, so Jalen Phillips is their pick. Now we're picking again. Top of the second round. Zaven Collins is still there, who's a very interesting prospect, but so is Kadarius Toney. I think if Toney's there, I think considering we cut Crowder in our heads, I think we take Toney. Do you agree?
Yeah, that makes sense too.
Okay. Him and Samuel will be dirty.
And then we're right back up with the 4th pick of the second round from the Falcons.
What do you think here?
Is Wyatt Davis Harris still there?
Najee Harris is there.
I'm not a running back guy at all.
I don't
pretty vocal about that, but that is interesting. So we've got a receiver, we've got an edge, we've got a tackle. At this point, we could double dip at edge. Like you said, nobody wanted to sign with us in free agency. Everyone hates Robert Saleh's defense for some reason.
Asai is interesting. Asai is interesting. He's more of a 3-4
double
outside
up on the
linebacker.
Miami guys.
Screw it, let's do it. Rousseau is our pick.
We got both Miami rushers.
And now we wait. For the 3rd round. I think just the story of the Darnold simulator. And once we get to 4th round.
Get another Miami.
No, God, chill out. I think we probably go with a corner here if there's a good one. If it's not, the board isn't really falling our way with the corners. The next one. Yeah, no, okay. I don't think we're in the range for a good corner right now. Chaz Surratt, linebacker. Jabril Cox, linebacker. Pete Werner, linebacker. I'm just kind of looking at any positions that need. They could go with a running back. Michael, this is tough.
With the running back.
You think so? You think this is a good spot? Do we sign Jamal Williams? No, we signed Marlon Mack.
Tevin Jenkins, tackle, still here, who seems like he's probably higher than a 3rd round prospect. So we did draft a tackle 1st round, obviously, but
kind of doubling down on some positions here. I think from a need perspective, I would say that corner and linebacker are where the Jets are weakest, and probably guard, because I think right now.
Yeah. So we could go with Surratt at linebacker because we didn't go too big there.
Yeah, let's go with Surratt.
So we do still have that linebacker need.
And then hopefully there's a good corner available with the 3rd round pick. Yeah, the next highest corner is not for a ways down. I don't even see one. Rodarius Williams from Oklahoma State. I'm not even going to pretend to know who that is yet. The closer we get to the draft, the more knowledgeable I get on the day 3 players. This is still day 2, I guess, but the late round guys, just from doing all these simulators. Michael, what are you thinking from a position perspective? I guess this is the last pick we'll really focus on as we move to the other scenarios, which we'll fly through as well.
Well, I would like to take a running back here, but really no good value in terms of the board right now.
The best player available. Well, Jamar Jefferson, that's good value. Morgan
Could do
State.
that.
All right, let's go with Jefferson.
22nd pick of the 3rd round.
A little
All right, so
early.
I think that pretty much the rest of these picks we don't have to
All
touch
right,
on them.
we won't make these, but you get the gist. Again, jetsxfactor.com. Go subscribe, and you can do this yourself. Michael, let's do 2 more scenarios. We'll fly through these a little bit faster. Let's go with trading for Deshaun Watson. Now, in the trade for Watson, Michael, I guess what are you willing to give up?
I think for me, I'm definitely willing to be very aggressive for him in terms of picks. I don't want to touch Quinn Williams. I don't think Mekhi Becton would actually be involved, but I don't want to touch Quinn Williams if we don't have to. So I would definitely be willing to go in that 4 first-round pick sort of range if they have to. I think he is worth that much to have the certainty to get a in his prime franchise quarterback, top 4 to 5 quarterback in the league. So
what are you offering though? Which are you offering both this year and both next year? You're offering.
So I guess let's start off with both first this year. We'll go with the first next year. We'll throw in our round 2 this year and our round 2 next year, and see if that works.
It's kind of a ton, but okay.
All right. What do you think that's a little bit much? Should we?
I think that's a bit much. I think
lower?
we can take our 2 off right here. I think we can do 3 1s and a 2 right now.
All right. Oh, and we could put Darnold in there as well.
You think they want Darnold? I don't think that. I think we try this.
All right,
see.
let's try
They
it.
accept it.
All right.
Yeah, there you go. A nice little Photoshop too. Bang. All right, Deshaun Watson is now a Jet. So Michael, obviously we went through the Darnold scenario, and we built a pretty good team.
We could still get some more for Darnold here now too, since we still have
All right,
him.
let's try the Panthers trade. Let's do the Panthers trade.
Well, that was the trade down.
Oh yeah, never mind.
We could do the one Steelers trade where we can get a couple extra, a 1 round 3 pick and a round 4 pick in there, and then the swap in the 6th round, or we could just go for a 2nd round.
I think we go with the 2nd round pick from the Niners.
Yeah, that's a high 2nd round pick.
Yes. All right.
So we'll do that.
Now with the Darnold scenario we ran through a few moments ago, obviously Joe Douglas was very aggressive. I mean, Johnny Smith, Curtis Samuel, Marlon Mack, Joe Tooney. I mean, they went all out. How do you think the philosophy, I guess, would change from building around Darnold to building around Watson? Because in my eyes, I think they're actually kind of similar. I think with the rookie, it's a little different, but I think it would be aggressive full court press. With Darnold, it's because, all right, we have to know what this kid is. Is he the real deal or is he not? With Watson, I think immediately, as soon as you trade for him, the expectation, or at least the goal, is Super Bowl. I mean, I don't think the Jets are ready for that. I think they're probably a few years away from that. But if you trade for Deshaun Watson, that's the goal. And so I think Joe Douglas goes all out, guns blazing. Michael, what are your thoughts on how his philosophy would change as you got to Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, I think the way you said it pretty much makes sense. They're really going to have to be aggressive, and especially in free agency, because you will be losing a lot of premium draft picks to get him. So I think that in free agency, and well, the trade market's going to be tougher, of course, without some of those picks. But even later round picks, you can swap for veterans, like we've seen the Brandon Marshall trade. We've seen guys like Calais Campbell, Jarrell Casey. Good players get traded for late round picks. So those trades, they'd probably amp up. And then free agency, I think, like you said, they got to be aggressive with what they do have left if they do make that trade. So I think the aggressiveness in terms of more established names would definitely take a spike if they did trade for Watson.
So we're at the free agency portion with Watson. We flew through the re-signs, did the same thing that we did with Darnold, brought the same guys back. Now back to the quarterback question. If you have Watson, do you sign a guy, or are you comfortable rolling with Morgan as the 2 because your QB1 is so good and you have limited assets? $49 million in cap space and less picks to build around him. So, Michael, what are your thoughts on where the Jets should spend this money?
I do like the idea you brought up before with Nick Mullins as a backup, just because of the scheme familiarity. And he put up decent numbers with them, and he did accept with us 2 years, $2 million.
There we go.
So we're starting off on the right foot. The guys seem to want to play in this offense with Michael Ford, but they seem to hate Robert Sala's defense in the simulator.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know what Robert Saleh did. Now we'll try to make him a little bit different, make him more fun. Will Fuller, interesting guy. Obviously,
Reunite him with Watson.
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe 4 years, $67 million's a little expensive for me,
48.3 right now. Haven't made the cuts yet. We can
especially
wait.
for a guy.
Let's this time wait on the cuts until we need to do anything, so we don't mess it up again.
Especially for a guy who is injured as much as he is. I don't know if I'm willing to spend that much money, but the chemistry with Watson is there, and he's one of the best deep ball guys in the entire league. He's tempting for sure. I think the reason they stay away from him, and I don't know, I mean, there's a few reasons. One, I don't think he's necessarily that yak guy that the Jets are looking for. But also, the Jets had a player very similar to Fuller and Robbie Anderson, who was a hell of a lot more consistent, I guess, in just the way that he was on the field a lot, but one of the best deep threats in the league. He was younger than Fuller. He's as fast as Fuller. Fuller's probably a little bit better, but Anderson was on the field more, and the Jets set their price and didn't go past it. I think the Fuller thing is more nostalgia, I guess, in the sense that he has that experience with Watson. Michael, your call here. I'll give you the on. Do we go with Fuller? And if not, who do we go with?
Let's start with Allen Robinson. Let's see if he wants to.
Really? All right. We'll go with the non-scheme fit.
480. And he does not want to play with Deshaun Watson. So have fun with
there's some beef there.
Go.
Juju.
So we'll go to Will Fuller now.
All right. Will Fuller has decided to sign elsewhere.
All right, let's try Gallaudet.
Galladay's not a scheme fit. Galladay's not a scheme fit. We're not going to sign
He's
Gallaudet.
too good. It doesn't matter.
Corey Davis.
All right, 3 years, 36 with Corey Davis. Good value.
Corey Davis
accepts. All right, I like that.
All right. I think that's a good fit with Deshaun Watson. He's a great fit for this offense as well. And in some ways, I actually like Davis more than Samuel because there's actually a lot of players like Samuel in this draft. Because
should we go with the cut Crowder route in this one? Maybe try to add another big weapon.
I think we wait on cutting Crowder. I think you maybe could in free agency as well, or in the draft. Excuse me. Yeah, but what I was saying is there's a lot of guys in the draft that are very similar to Curtis Samuel. So Corey Davis, in my eyes, actually might be a better signing for the Jets. But Samuel's obviously so exciting. It's just the concern is that you're signing, I don't want to call him a gadget guy, but he is more known for what he does as a non-traditional receiver. And it's always kind of dangerous when you invest premium assets into that. But I love the Corey Davis signing. I think we wait on the cuts, like you said, Michael. I think with running back, probably the same strategy here. Well, yeah, probably the same strategy here. Well, let's offer Jamal Williams, see if he accepts. He's decided to sign elsewhere. We go with Mac. He's decided to sign elsewhere. Now we have to get a little interesting. Do we go?
We could try McKinnon at 1 year, 1.5. Could be a pretty nice value.
There we go. McKinnon accepts. Okay, we go cheap on the running back.
$34.8 million here.
Now we try for Juszczyk again, and he accepts.
Let's
Bang.
go. Juszczyk, it's just written. That's what we've learned in this podcast so far.
Now
2 for 2 with Juszczyk. He has to come here.
So now, because we did Jonnu in the last one, we'll leave Johnny Smith out of this one, except I do think he is he's such a great player. I mean, we saw him a lot when we were doing our whole Arthur Smith stuff, and we watched a lot of the Titans, and Johnny Smith just does so many amazing things. But I think for this simulation, we'll skip out on him. I think Trey Burton in that tight end 2 role makes a lot of sense. Has experience with Joe Douglas.
At tight end this time. So 2 years, 8 for Trey Burton. He doesn't like us. He declined.
I would say Dan Arnold, but
try Dan Arnold.
The initials is Darnold, and I don't know if I really like that, but he's just okay. Yeah,
all right.
Jordan Reed, experience in the offense, he accepts. Banks.
1 year, 1. That's a good value. He can't block it all, but still a very good receiver.
Yeah, I'll take him. All right, now we get to the offensive line. I think we start off. I think every single one of these we will be offering Joe Thuney. I think he just makes. So we'll see if he declines us. Yeah, he did. Oh my God! All right, we'll turn around. And Scherf so now I think you got to go to Lindsley. And Lindsley's elsewhere.
Spurned us too.
Well, nobody wants to play with Deshaun Watson apparently. Now I think you look at the tackles.
Yeah,
I think you go after a tackle.
Let's start with Taylor Moton.
To elsewhere.
Darrell Williams.
Elsewhere. Wow.
Over 5.
Deshaun Watson's just cursed. Now, Michael, in this situation,
this guy because he takes so many sacks, they don't want him making them look bad.
In this situation, Michael, after all the free agent research you've done, in the nightmare scenario that the Jets miss out on Scherf, Thuney, Lindsley, Moton, and Williams. I mean, where do they even go for their offensive line help? Obviously the draft, but they've lost some assets here.
To be honest, the guard spot really has almost nothing else outside those 2 guys. So I feel like we just have to pass on
Alex Mack and then
now.
Bump.
We could get Alex Mack to try and try to get him to play center and move McGovern over as a last resort option. And he does have that sort of familiar. And I mean, the Jeff Ulbrich connection, but he played against him in practice.
No, that doesn't count. I think he's also
Doesn't count.
35. Wow. All
I
right.
say
Well,
we pass on it and try to focus on
no
the draft.
offensive linemen. And okay, so we're gonna have to go all out on O linemen. We better get an edge rusher.
All right, so we do. Hopefully, the edge works out better than last time.
Dang.
Carl Lawson accepts.
4 years, $35 million for Carl Lawson. That'd be a hell of a signing for the Jets. So they get their edge rusher. Now we go back to the linebacker spot.
We could go a little bit bigger at linebacker this time. Let's try Jayon Brown.
All right, we'll go with Jayon Brown. Well,
4 years.
They're at $20 million. I don't think they invest a lot of money into linebacker because of CJ
All right, so let's
Mosley.
try Morrow again.
I think
he
they go
declined us last time.
He
spurned us again.
Let's try Tyus Bowser. Tyus Bowser.
All right,
there we go.
3 years, 27 for Bowser. We're at $11.5 million.
Yes, there we go. Okay, and then we can
corners
sign Campbell.
All right, Devondre Campbell wants to come here as well.
Now we're only $8 million in cap. We're going to cut some guys, I think.
Should we make sure we get a kicker first?
Well, we have space to cut. We have space to maneuver here, Michael. Come on. All right. What do you think?
We haven't made our cuts yet, too. So
I know. That's what I'm saying. Okay, let's go with Jamal Williams first, and he accepted. Okay, now let's go to the roster here and cut some guys.
You didn't re-sign Poole, right?
No, I did not re-sign Poole. So,
because of course, K'Wan Williams is a slot guy. So
I think obviously Lewis is out. Well, actually, if they don't sign anybody, maybe Lewis does come back.
We're kind of in this tough spot. We didn't get any O linemen.
I think they do keep Lewis in that situation.
Now we have to stick with Lewis.
Okay, we cut Henry Anderson. That freed up some money.
We could get $15.2 million by cutting Watson.
Okay. I don't know. I'm trying to think where they should even. I guess Crowder. I mean, right?
I mean,
because then you have
Corey Davis. We have Mims.
We're
going to have to address the offensive line, though.
Yeah, I know.
So I think we stick with Crowder.
All right, we cut. Yeah, we didn't even get anybody for the tackle spot either. Okay. Back to the corners. Where do you think they go here? We got Williams. They need an outside guy. $9 million in cap space, and we have to sign a kicker as well. Let's go get the kicker first because we don't want to miss out on the kicker.
All right, let's start as cheap as possible. Bullock is the cheapest kicker on here for $2 million, so let's try him.
Fat Randy, the return? Oh, he didn't even want to come back here. He had nightmares about.
Let's go with Nick Folk, $3 million. Tank legend from the Monday night game.
He's so brutal, but all right.
He had a decent season this past year. All right, so Nick Folk is our kicker. Leaves us with about $6 million for corner now.
Yeah, I guess we have about $6 million, $6.5 million. I'm just trying to think where we should go with. I guess Michael Davis is who we offer first, right?
Yeah.
He decided to sign elsewhere. Witherspoon's out of our price range. Douglas, Kevin King, what are we thinking here?
We can try.
Try
Rasul Douglas.
And he accepted. Okay.
That's a decent flyer.
Looking at the roster before we get to the draft in this Deshaun Watson ultra aggressive scenario, obviously Watson's your quarterback. At back, you have Jerick McKinnon, Michael Pirine, Josh Adams, and whatnot. You brought in Juszczyk as the fullback, and then at receiver, you have a nice group of Mims, Corey Davis, and Jamison Crowder. At the line, that's going to be the biggest weak spot for this team because it's the exact same right now heading into the draft.
Let's not sugarcoat it.
The exact same offensive line that the Jets had last year, and they're going to have limited assets. And then on defense, their big win was obviously finally securing an edge rusher in Carl Lawson. And those brought in Tyus Bowser, Devondre Campbell, K'Wan Williams.
Tyus Bowser's a big one. He's great in coverage. And we did get K'Wan Williams to man the slot, so there are some good things.
Let's do the first few rounds just like last time. We don't have a first round pick. This is going to be tough. They're going to have to land a guard here, and then, I guess the one thing that you do once you have Deshaun Watson, I mean, things become a little less important, I guess. He elevates those around him. So, all right. So round 2, I'm trying to look at the guards here. Is there anybody that fell? There's not
a guard we can reach on, or would it be too absurd to reach on a guard here?
Okay, so Rasu's available, Phillips is available, Tony's available, Zaven Collins, Najee Harris. I don't really see a good guard. I don't think Wyatt Davis.
You can put it off till the top.
Josh Myers.
Interior left is Josh Myers. I think he could be available in the 3rd round, so we could put it off.
That's a risky game we're going to play here, but okay. So what would be the second biggest need for the Jets?
Should we go with Tony here in the second round pick at wide receiver, or should we go with an edge? Phillips is here.
Jalen Phillips is still here. You can double down at that edge. That's kind of hard to pass
We
up,
are still
honestly.
going to need
I
another
think in
one.
this situation, the Jets would probably trade down and pick up picks. Yeah, I agree with that, what you just said, Michael, but they'll probably need another one. But I do think they will probably try to start Franklin Myers, the 5 tech. But I could see them bringing in 2 big edges, like in this situation. So let's take Jalen Phillips. So you have Phillips and Lawson, and then you have JFM at 3 tech on passing downs and Foley on rundowns. And then you just keep your defensive lineman fresh.
We do have this extra second-round pick from the Niners, at number
Yes,
44.
that's true. I forgot about that. So I think this is where you don't play around, and I think you go ahead and take Josh Myers if he's here, and he is not. Wow, that is sad. Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah,
right
he
there.
is.
He's
Yeah,
right
he
there.
is.
Okay, I missed. All right, Josh Myers is our center. There we go. Okay, we have an offensive lineman on the board. So right now our O-line's looking like Becton, I guess.
Van
Connor
Roten, I
McGovern.
guess.
Yeah, Connor McGovern, Josh Myers, Van Roten, and Fant. Pretty sad, but with Watson, it's less sad. Still pretty hyped. I mean, I guess the story of this while we do this, and maybe you can think about this while I say this, but is the fact that even if the Jets were to trade the farm for Watson like we just did, they still have plenty of assets to make this a good football team.
Right, and I think realistically they're probably going to land one of those 2 guards. Even if they don't get one of them, go big at tackle or Lindsley at center.
Right.
I don't
Yeah, I
they
think that
really
was
would
kind of
go 0
unrealistic.
for 5.
I think
in
that
real
was
life.
kind of unrealistic. I think there's just kind of this misconception
But
that
this is the Jets we're talking about.
yeah,
so
maybe
it is more realistic.
Joe Douglas does set his line in the sand, and maybe he won't cross it for any of those guys. But I think if they got to the point where they just didn't get any of them, I think they would probably pony up for the last one available. Looking at what I was going to say was the misconception though is that exists is like, you know, why would Deshaun Watson want to go to the Jets? It's just going to be if the Jets trade all these assets for Watson, then he's just going to be in the same situation he's in, but in New York. And obviously, me and you know that's not true because obviously I have a lot more faith in Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh than whatever the Texans are going on over there. But also, as you can see, because of Darnold, because of the assets that Douglas has accumulated the last year and a half, there is plenty of assets, you know, via cap and draft picks to build around Watson. I don't know if this is a Super Bowl team, especially with that offensive line, but let's say they did land Tooney. This is a tremendous football team, the best Jets team that we've seen in a while. If Deshaun Watson's your quarterback. All right, 2 more 3rd-round picks to go, and then we'll move on to the most realistic scenario. Michael, where do you want to target in the 3rd round here?
There are some decent options at linebacker, edge, receiver. What are you thinking here?
I think they go corner. Personally,
Yeah, we definitely need some more corner.
I go Tyson Campbell from Georgia. Sean Wade's more of a nickel, anyways, and he got absolutely toasted the entire season. I'll go with a corner there. And then lastly, our 2nd, 3rd round pick 22. We've got the edge locked down. We've got the corner spot locked down. Linebackers are looking pretty good with Bowser. You could sign maybe another one or draft another one, excuse me. Yeah, I mean, the world is your oyster. I would say running back is where I'd kind of be looking, but I don't really see. I guess Jamar Jefferson's there again because we only signed Jerick McKinnon in this situation. But again, offensive line is a big concern. So maybe, I mean, Deontay Brown's not really a scheme fit from Alabama. He's more of a big boy, power gap type of scheme. I don't know, Michael. What are you thinking here? Running back or offensive line or somewhere else?
It does seem like with the way the board is that there are a lot of receivers, edge, and safety at the top. So it might seem like a little bit of a reach at this point to fill some of our biggest needs. But this is a pretty tough one at this spot. You can make this pick. I think I'm lending most of the draft decisions to you.
Keep passing the buck. Okay,
I'm
you know what? In
the
this
free
situation,
agency stuff. We're co-GMs.
If Shaka Toney was here, I don't see any way you pass on him. But because we've already invested Phillips and lost into the edge, it doesn't really make much sense. But that would be my pick. But I guess I'd want an interior offensive lineman. I guess just because I don't want to reach like way deep into all the way down here to take one. I guess we go Jamar Jefferson because that running back spot is pretty weak.
I think the Jets will have a very best player available sort of approach because they have so many needs.
Yeah.
It will depend on what happens in free agency and the trade market and things like that. But I could definitely see a very much best player available sort of approach because there are so many positions of need on the roster that there's hardly anything that you can't consider a need.
Yeah. No, that's actually a really good point. I mean, I think this team is going to be a hell of a lot better, but there's just so many holes that I think it's really going to be a kind of 2 years before the Jets, this offseason and next offseason in my eyes, before the Jets are really legit. I think they can make the playoffs. I mean, a rebuild is becoming an increasing myth in today's NFL, especially when you look what the Jets have to build with. But yeah, I mean, a quarterback, a running back, 2 or 3 offensive linemen, a receiver, a tight end, 1 or 2 edge guys, 1 or 2 outside linebackers, 1 or 2 corners. I mean, it's just there's a lot to go. And I think the one thing that we learned with Douglas, if he carries his approach over from last year, I think it will be different. But I don't think he's going to sink assets into, let's say a free agent, because I think some teams fall into the problem of trying to plug all their holes at once. And then you end up overpaying a mediocre corner and you're paying him starter money because it's like, well, we need a starting corner. He's a guy, let's sign him. And then bang, he's our starting corner. But then you just wasted, let's say $8 million that year on it. I just feel like Joe Douglas is going to have his vision. I don't think we're going to plug all the holes, but I think he's going to do a solid job of plugging holes in free agency, building in talent through the draft. But the Jets are still going to, have some holes on that team next year. Now we go to the most likely scenario, which is this is the one that, no, I didn't mean to hit that. There we go. Which is drafting a quarterback. Yeah, thank you, Jinx. There we go. I guess we take the Niners trade again. It's
we can do something different.
All right, you want to go something different?
Mix it up. Let's do this one where we get the 3rd and the 4th round pick from the Steelers.
Okay, there we go.
So we'll be getting 87 and 129, and we'll be swapping in the 6th round for Darnold.
I think that's actually pretty terrible value, but whatever.
It probably is. It's just
3rd and 4th, and we move down in the 6th. No, you know what? Screw that. Steelers are a poverty franchise. Let's go with Chicago. 52. We send back a 5th. I mean, let's do that. Agree? Or
let's do that.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, finally. All right, and I'll fly through some of these re-signs. I guess, Michael, how would you say the philosophy differs when you're building around a quarterback that's young and you have 5 years, 5 glorious, probably more like 4 glorious years to build a contender with a QB on a rookie contract? I guess, how do you think Douglas's philosophy shifts and how he would build this team and just kind of your thoughts on the path that me and you both presumably want the Jets to go down?
Well, this is the big advantage of having that rookie quarterback contract, is having all this extra cap space at your disposal, because it is the most expensive position in the game to sign. So once you do get to that point where you have to extend him, and obviously if you get to that point, it's probably a good thing because he's most likely played well to earn it. But once you do get to that point, it takes up a very big portion of your cap space. So to have those 4 years to where he doesn't have to take up that much cap space is a big advantage. So the free agent market is where you can take advantage of that. So I think that it is important to be aggressive. We look back to when the Jets, even though you're not necessarily trying to compete right away, you do want to give your quarterback as good of a situation as possible. You look back to the Jets in 2018, they didn't do that. And it's a big part of why they're in the position that they're in now and why Sam Darnold didn't work out. So I think that it is important to make the most of the advantage that having your quarterback be on a rookie deal gives you.
All things I agree with, Michael. We are in the free agent portion, but I think it's important to decide who we're taking it to right now, because I think one of the things you've seen from all the young quarterbacks who have come into the league and had success is they've had a team built to their strengths. Justin Fields, Zach Wilson. I'm more team Fields at the moment. Yeah, I don't really actually know where you lie. I mean, I think you were more Fields, and now you might be leaning back towards Wilson. I think Oscar gave a very good breakdown, and it's kind of how I believe that Wilson may be slightly the better scheme fit. I think Fields is the much better prospect.
We've seen everything at this point. We've seen articles. Oh, he's actually not a scheme fit. He's a great scheme fit. No, I don't think.
I mean, look, there are concerns because
right now.
There are legitimate concerns about the offense that Justin Fields runs at Ohio State and about his processing. And I think that is fair. And I also think his release could be a little bit faster. As Wilson's a guy who has a wicked fast release, but I don't think he's this insane process. I mean, because here's the thing. When you go last year, everybody's talking about Justin Herbert. And I think he's kind of an interesting guy to look at when you think about Field. And he was things a lot in the offense that he was running at Oregon. And you're drafting for the physical tools, and people criticize his processing. But in the NFL, Justin Herbert has been one of the best processing quarterbacks that we've seen from a rookie. I mean, the way that he's able to just go through reads, and Fields is a guy that I don't think he's that, obviously. I think he is. There are legitimate concerns there, but he is not the one read quarterback that people make him out to be. There are times in Ohio State's offense where he is read and run, but he does go through progressions. He has had plenty of times where he's under center and running a bootleg and has his back to the defense, and he's running a lot of Shanahan West Coast type of things. He's playing for a different head coach than all these other Ohio State quarterbacks have come through. Also, Michael, go ahead and name me a good Clemson quarterback before Deshaun Watson. Or go ahead and name me a
There is
good BYU quarterback.
Todd
Okay.
Boyd is really good.
So you don't scout the helmet. And I also think it wasn't like Fields was just a random 4-star recruit, 5-star recruit, and then goes to Ohio State and benefits off their offense and becomes, a great quarterback. I mean, he was the number 2 prospect in the entire country. I mean, one of the best quarterback prospects to come out of high school in the history of the game. I mean, I think the prospect fatigue is real with him. I think he is over criticized, and I think Zach Wilson's under criticized. Obviously, I'm be ecstatic with either. I mean, I think Zach Wilson's just so intriguing, but with the type of player he is. But Michael, I'll let you decide. Where I'm lying right now. I would say I would take Fields. But
I agree with you. Let's go with Justin Fields.
Okay. The other thing to remember there.
Justin Fields.
The other thing to remember there is that I think the interesting thing is we know 2 philosophies we can take away from Joe Douglas's first draft. One, and this was something that Solid's talked about a lot, that he likes to work with the coaching staff and the coaching staff will tell him this is the type of player we want to run this scheme, and then Joe Douglas will go ahead and make that decision who the player will be. And that would sound like that should be routine, but as Jets fans may know, the last decade before Joe Douglas, that wasn't really there wasn't much communication between the two. The coaching staff might want one player and the general manager might want another player. They weren't working in sync and drafting players to fit a scheme. And if you believe Zach Wilson's the slightly better scheme fit, or let's say Michael LaFleur says that, then he might be the guy. But we also know that Douglas likes to draft athletic, high ceiling, high character guys. And that's all things that Justin Fields is. I think Fields has the higher ceiling. Wilson might be the slightly better fit, but I also actually think that Fields has the higher floor. So I agree with this. Let's go with Fields, but honestly, I mean, Fields or Wilson, we'll talk ourselves into either one of them and be ecstatic. If they're going to go with Fields, though, I like Tyrod Taylor as the backup quarterback, and he accepted. I think he makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think you kind of do what the Ravens did with Lamar and RG3. Obviously, they're different players. Taylor is not nearly the player that Justin Fields is, but you can install a similar offense, which is going to be that West Coast Shannon offense. Mike LaFleur is going to have his spin to it. And then if they have a guy like Fields, they're going to add some RPO elements, some read option elements. And I think Taylor fits that quite nicely. Looking at the receiver position, Michael, where do you think we should go with this one? I mean, you have a rookie quarterback, so maybe you don't have to go all in on a guy. Do we go back to the Curtis Samuel route? Do we go with the Kendrick Bourne route?
I think that with a guy like Fields, you can start to look at some more of the vertical, bigger guys as better fits, because I do think Fields has a very good deep ball. I think he's a good outside thrower. He's willing to give guys chances to make plays. I think he's just more of a better all around pocket thrower than Wilson. Look, both guys are great, but I think Wilson, there's a lot more of outside the pocket and just a lot of that
backyard
improvisation
football
to his game. Backyard football. That's sort of what I'm going for. And that is where you can kind of maximize the yak guys more. But Justin Fields, I think, is a guy who is better at spreading the ball around. And that's where your true winners on the outside can really shine. So I think we can feel more comfortable with an Allen Robinson type of guy with Justin Fields more so than Wilson, but Robinson doesn't want to sign with us.
Declined 4 years, $80 million.
So let's go with Kenny Gallaudet. Let's give him a shot. 5 years, 85, and he signs elsewhere. Let's give Will Fuller a shot.
Fuller accepted.
Will Fuller.
Okay.
I like that one.
I like that
Justin
we spread
Fields
it out.
has a really good deep ball, and that should be maximized by one of the best deep threats. So Will Fuller, I do like that sign.
All right, I like that.
Obviously, risk with him in terms of durability, but I like the fit there with Justin Fields.
And I think if you sign him, you're probably cutting Crowder. So let's go ahead and cut Crowder then. Right? You agree with that?
We haven't done the Crowder cut route yet, so let's go ahead and do that.
All right, we'll cut Crowder. Yeah, and I mean, nothing's off the table. I personally would probably hold on to him, but we cut Henry Anderson and Jamison Crowder.
And we can get Alex Lewis. Let's just cut Alex Lewis.
All right,
we don't know what will happen at an offensive line, but we'll go ahead and get him out of here for the extra $5.4 million. So we're at 67.4 in cap space after
let's go get you
Fuller to about 16 per year. So let's go for Tooney, and he accepts.
Okay, now I just wanted to make sure we got Tooney in the bag before we continued.
So we got Tooney and Fuller. We've already gotten a lot more support for Justin Fields than Sam Darnold got in his first season. Mm-hmm. So let's look at the running back position here. Let's try. I do like the McKinnon route. I think that's a solid just because of the fit and everything, and he's a pretty good price on here, $1.5 million. And he accepts, so we're cheap at running back.
Use check again?
Go with use check.
3 for 3. Oh, that's destiny right there, baby.
That's
Do we
definitely
go
gonna
with a
happen.
big tight end with the rookie? Do you just load up on assets? I think if you're cutting Crowder, I'm going
Yeah,
after
let's go for
Jonnu.
Jonnu Smith. Let's see if we can do it.
And he
Jonnu
accepted.
Smith
Bang.
accepts.
Wow,
We're
what
at
an offense.
38.4 here. Our
All right,
offense is looking great.
38.4. Now, do we explore the tackle route? Do we explore
Let's try
Lindsey?
it. Let's try it because if we can get it and cut
All
Fant,
right.
it's not a huge hit.
Let's
So
try
let's go
Lindsley
ahead and
first.
try it.
Let's try Lindsley first. He decided
All
to
right.
sign elsewhere. Okay, screw you, Lindsley. Let's go with the tackle route.
So let's try Taylor Moton first.
He accepted.
Taylor Moton accepts. I like it. All right. So
George.
Moton is coming in at about 14 per year. So we can cut Fant 7.4. So it's really a loss of about 6.6 million per year. So
Perfect.
we're at 31.8 right now with a loaded offense.
Wow.
Still looking for the defense.
$31 million to spend on the defense. Michael, you going big at edge? You going after Carl Lawson, Shaq Barrett, or are you going cheaper on the edge rush? What are you thinking?
We could try to change it up and maybe because we've gone cheap at cornerback every time, so we could try.
Yeah, you want to go after a big corner? Well, there's not really a good. I mean, we could go.
Yeah,
after
there
Sherman.
isn't really a big corner. There are some really good ones, I think, but there isn't really anyone who's going to get that huge deal who you have to cash out for. So we should still go big at edge, I think. Let's try Carl Lawson again. We've had some success with him. Hopefully we can now. Although actually we could go big at linebacker this time instead of cornerback and try for Jayon Brown. So we haven't done that yet.
I don't think they already have $19 million to CJ Mosley. I just don't see.
That is true.
Let's go big at edge, but let's go with Yannick.
Yeah, let's try Ngakoue.
And
he
there we
accepts
go.
at
Ngakoue
462. That's a pretty big price, I think, for his recent production, but it's
a massive. That's huge.
But he
down
does
to 16
have a
million.
lot of talent, so hopefully he does.
I don't see Joe Douglas showing that out, but we'll have fun for the sake of this exercise. At linebacker, what are we thinking? Let's try Morrow again.
Morrow accepts. All right, he's back. I'm back on the bandwagon.
Back on the bandwagon. Let's go to corner here.
Left to look at corners.
We've been cheaping out on the corners.
We can do a little bit better here because we haven't had success at corner.
Oh, he went elsewhere.
Did you re-sign Poole? You didn't?
I didn't re-sign Poole. Sorry. I guess we could have for this exercise, but
let's try Desmond King then.
Desmond King accepts.
All right,
so
we got to go cheap on the outside again.
Artie Burns,
$1.5 million for 1 year.
He didn't even want to sign that. Rasul Douglas
again, and he accepts.
Now we're at $393 in cap space. We can't even sign a kicker.
Totally ignored cornerback.
Totally ignored. Yeah, okay. That Yannick contract, I don't think would happen, but whatever.
Is there anyone else we can cut to maybe look for some more?
All right, yeah, okay. Hold on. We could release, and we could do some of the house clean. Oh, Ryan Griffin. Get rid of Ryan Griffin.
We could get rid of Greg Van Roten and look for a starting cornerback.
No,
but we still need another starting guard, so that leaves us with a pretty big.
We got $2 million to go sign a kicker. Really, there's no kickers available for. Wait, hold on. There you go, Randy Bullock. Let's try it. He didn't want to sign here. Well, screw it. All right, one of those kickers would be a Jet. We cut somebody. All right, now this is the interesting part. We go to the draft. We already know pick number 1, Justin Fields. Like this pick for the Jets a lot. Zach Wilson also. And now we wait, Michael. Who are you kind of thinking with that 23 overall pick? I think this is the other two are kind of more fun. This is actually what I think the Jets will end up doing outside of Yannick. But what are you kind of thinking with that pick 23? Right now, the way this board fell, Kyle Pitts is still available. Well, I mean, like, okay, we're going to pretend Kyle Pitts didn't fall because that would just be insane. We already signed Jonnu. Micah Parsons fell. He's very intriguing. Zaven Collins is intriguing. Harris, Tony, Rousseau, Phillips.
It would be nice if Wyatt Davis was here. I believe he's off the board at this point. So it looks like we missed on that. That would be a big one, though.
Yeah.
But
what are you kind of thinking in general?
They can go here.
What are you kind of thinking in general? Ignore the simulator for a second. At 23, what do you because I'm kind of leaning towards they're going to take an edge there because I think Phillips or Rousseau is.
I do think edge is probably the position here. As much as you do want to get that offensive help, at least in this simulation, just as an example, we've already gotten so much in free agency.
Yeah.
So as much as you do want to load up on that help for the quarterback, they have a lot of defensive holes too, and that could be the biggest position of value at this point at number 23. So edge could be the way to go, and we still do need another one. We did get Yannick here for a ridiculous price, but opposite him, we're still going to need some help. So
we truly believe
your guy Jalen Phillips is here yet again.
Kadarius Toney's here as well.
Rousseau still here.
Michael, your call. You've pivoted to me. plenty of
I'm
times.
pivoting to you every single
No,
time.
no, you're making this call. Come on, big boy pants on.
All right.
GM Michael
All
Nania.
right. Jalen Phillips, we're going here.
Okay. He seems to be our favorite at pick 23, which means that he's going to go at like 16 on draft night. All right, round 2, pick 2. Najee Harris still available. Zaven Collins still available. Kadarius Toney still available. This is the meat of the draft, especially if the Jets trade Darnold. I mean, the 3 picks that they're going to have, the Jets can walk out of this draft with 4 starters. I mean,
But we did cut Crowder, so we do have a little bit more of a need for that slot guy.
and then we got Will Fuller too, so there is a need for Kadarius Toney. I'm on board with the Toney train if you are.
Yep, we're gonna go with Toney here.
But I mean, look, they're gonna get their quarterback most likely at 2, and then they're gonna have picks right there, and that's just in addition to all the cap. I mean,
and so we do have the 20th pick here in the second round, thanks to the trade we made for Darnold.
This is an interesting part of the board. I think we haven't seen it yet. Mac Jones? No, I'm just kidding. I don't really know where to go.
This is a really interesting part of the draft, like you said.
Okay, so for
right
the
now,
audio
board
listeners,
there's a lot of offensive linemen at the top.
So there's 3 tackles: Cosme, Carmen, and Falele. So you could go and Radunes actually. So 4 tackles. We did sign Moton though, so we don't really need a tackle. If you're confident one of those guys can slide into guard, you can maybe do that. I think Falele is like 6'8", 400 pounds, right tackle from Minnesota. Interesting, but I don't think he's the move here, especially with the signing at right tackle. We already drafted an edge, so away and Tryon are out off the board, and Roche as well. Got a receiver, so we don't need one of those. This is trade down territory.
Could go with linebacker.
I think it's linebacker territory. Who did we sign again? We signed
we got Nicholas Morrow.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he's the only one we signed. So could use that, Sam sub package guy as a rookie.
Werner?
You could develop down the line. So you're
Josh Myers
there are
as well.
some good linebackers.
I think I go Josh Myers.
Yeah, and we can do that to add to that interior.
Yeah.
We do need that guard. So yeah, that's a good pick to go with Myers.
There we go.
Add the extra interior guy.
And we're picking again. There's
with McGovern.
2
safeties. McGovern has that versatilities, but that should complete our interior O-line.
Yeah, and then you're looking at round 3, pick 2. There's 2 safeties available in the top 3, a few edges in the top 10, a lot of linebackers. Yeah, I mean, since we get to this part of the board, at least in the simulator, it's a lot of linebacker, edge, safety, and then a few tackles.
Patrick Jones in there. Still here. Kenneth Gainwell, running back. We could go with that.
You want to go with the running back?
Yeah, let's go with Gainwell. Let's do this round 3 running back pick.
All right, one more pick, and then we'll analyze these teams real quick and talk about it and get out of here. Last pick for the Justin Fields-led Jets. There's a receiver, Dimey Brown. There's a few safeties in there, interior offensive lineman and Landon Dickerson from Alabama.
Carlos Basham, our guy.
Boogie Basham. Well, we already kind of done. We kind of invested a lot into the edge. Shaka Toney's available, who I would love to take as well.
We could go with another edge here.
Shaka Toney or Carlos Basham?
I think they really are going to have to overhaul that position.
I think you go Toney because I think he brings you the athleticism that you want.
Yeah. And I know you said that like Franklin Myers could play more 5-tech, but personally for me, I really think they should try to keep him on the interior. And if they can get some more pure edge guys to play on the outside, that'd make more sense. So I could see a double dip at edge depending on what they do in free agency.
Now, Michael, and so we stopped at round 4, pick 2 for all these, except I think the middle one, or the second one we did. Let's analyze these teams real quick. I'm going to just hit random guys in all these, and then we can look at the teams that we built. But I guess just kind of talk through the team that we built, the paths that Joe Douglas has, and kind of your personal preferences, what you liked from this and what you kind of learned, just your overall takeaway from the simulator exercise.
Well, I think one of the biggest things is that this team really does have a lot of maneuverability with what they can do this offseason. The fact that we have these 3 very different paths that they can take, and each of them still leave them with a lot of assets to improve the team, just goes to show how good of a position that they're in, or as good of a position as you can be as a team coming off of a 2-win season. But they have plenty of assets to trade for Watson and still do a decent job improving the team if they acquire him. They can trade. This is not something that I think they should do personally, but if you trade down from 2, you do have a ton of options and probably the deepest draft class or the most cumulative pick value of any team in the league. And if you don't do either of those things, you could still trade Sam Darnold, take your quarterback at 2, and have plenty of cap space and plenty of picks to build around him. So there are a lot of different ways they can go. It's that first domino is going to be the big one. Do you trade for Watson? Do you trade down from 2? Do you keep Darnold? Do you trade him? That's really what's going to set the tone for the offseason. But no matter what they do, they have a lot of chess pieces at their disposals in a lot of different ways they can go. And they'll have quite a bit of assets to build around whoever they choose at quarterback, no matter which way they go.
Looking at these 3 teams, Michael, which one do you think would win the most games in 2020? First with Darnold, and I'll kind of just summarize these really quickly without going too into the nitty gritty. With Darnold, we took a tackle at 4. You could be Sewell or Darisaw, just, whatever floats your boat. Took Phillips and Tony and Rousseau, so we have a nasty edge duo with Phillips and Rousseau. Took Chad Surratt and Jamar Jefferson. We signed a lot of guys with Darnold. We brought in Andy Dalton to his backup. We brought in as weapons Curtis Samuel, Jonnu Smith, Kyle Juszczyk, and Marlon Mack. We beefed up the offensive line with Joe Thuney. And then on the defensive side, we cheaped out a little bit. Everson Griffin, Anzalone, Devondre Campbell, Quan
we tried our best, just no one wanted to.
Nobody wanted to sign it with
this reality.
With Deshaun Watson, different story. Obviously, you have a superstar quarterback. In the draft, that we went with Jalen Phillips at 34. He fell all the way there. Josh Myers to be Deshaun Watson's center, Tyson Campbell the corner, and then Jamar Jefferson at running back. The other picks we're just going to ignore. And then to build around him, interestingly enough, Nick Mullins is the backup. Corey Davis, would really love that signing. Jerick McKinnon at running back, Kyle Juszczyk at tight end, Jordan Reed, the big one, Carl Lawson at edge, Tyus Bowser at linebacker, Campbell, Quan Williams, Nick Folk, and Rasul Douglas. And then lastly, with Justin Fields, you have Jalen Phillips at pick 23, Kadarius Toney, Josh Myers, and running back Kenneth Gainwell. And then we surrounded Justin Fields with an offense that I think is perfectly fit to his strengths. Obviously, Tyrod Taylor is a good backup for him. Will Fuller, Joe Thuney, Jerick McKinnon, Juszczyk, Johnny Smith, Taylor Moton, Jonathan Ngakoue, Nicholas Morrow, Desmond King, and Rasul Douglas. The other thing to keep in mind with Fields and Wilson, for that matter, I don't know if I'm on board with just rushing him out there to start week 1. I think with Fields, you may give him 5 or 6 games. I think that's kind of deflating to some fans who want to see him there in the home opener. Obviously, that'd be exciting, but I think there is some credence, especially to a guy who's going to be running a completely different system than he ran in college. Like, give him time to breathe. I mean, look at Lamar Jackson, look at Josh Allen, look at Patrick Mahomes. All those guys didn't come in and start, day one. I think for the longest time in the NFL, there was always this conception that you sit your young quarterback. And then around 2010, honestly when Mark Sanchez, I think it was the year before me with Matt Ryan and Joe Flacco, people started talking about playing your quarterback from day one and, look at the success it's had. But in years past, if you look at all the successful young quarterbacks, hell, even Herbert counts. They didn't start game 1. So I think that's important to keep in mind when you look at Tyrod Taylor. But sorry for the sidebar. Michael, what are your thoughts on these teams? Who wins the most out of all 3 of them?
I actually like this Justin Fields team the most. I think we really hit it out of the park in free agency with this one. Fuller, Joe Thuney, Jonnu Smith, and Taylor Moton. And then defense, a little bit of a question mark there. Kind of overpaid for Ngakoue.
Yeah, okay. I don't think we should have done that.
We did get my guy Nicholas Morrow, coverage beast. But this offense looks really good with Justin Fields, and we got Josh Myers.
Our corner is
Tony.
I think you go cheaper on edge and you maybe splurge a little bit more on corner. But outside of that, I agree. I actually think out of all the paths the Jets can take, going with the rookie quarterback is not only the long-term best plan. I think in some ways it's the short-term best plan, because I think it allows you to get a better quarterback with all the assets to build around him, especially since you're trading Darnold for a second. I just think, look, Watson's very fun. Obviously, we'd be for it. But I just think taking a guy like Fields or Wilson and building this type of team around him, and then you have all those picks next year to build around him. I mean, the Jets could be competing for a Super Bowl in 2023, in 2024. That's not even crazy talk. Like, that's not just optimistic fan talk. I really believe in this coaching staff. And when you look at just the assets that Joe Douglas has, I mean, he has them ready over the next 2 years to take a massive leap. I agree with you. I think the Justin Fields route, or Zach Wilson, you can plug in whoever you like more, is the best path for the Jets to go with. But let us know what you think. The Jets X Factor offseason simulator is launching on Monday when this podcast comes out. I think it's going to launch around 10 is what you said, Michael. So
it'll be out. The link should be there in the video. I'll start posting about it later.
Oh,
but
okay, sweet.
By the time you're listening to this, it's up there for you to use.
Yeah.
As
So
long as you just go to the page, subscribe, you get a 30-day free trial, and it's yours to use.
yeah, definitely make sure you check it out. Really, really cool job by Jets X Factor. Yeah, it's honestly an awesome tool to use. I've been using it the last few days just because I'm sick of doing all the draft network simulator and then just thinking in my head about free agents. This gives you a nice kind of realistic way to build the New York Jets. So yeah, tweet us pictures of your roster. Let you know what you think of the 3 blueprints, the Jets that we laid out for the Jets here. You can find this podcast where you listen to podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Jets X Factor. Like, rate, review on iTunes. Subscribe to the Jets X Factor YouTube channel. A lot of stuff coming out at Jets X Factor. A lot of stuff coming out of this podcast in the next few weeks and months. Really excited for all the content we have to bring you in 2021. Michael, any last words before we go?
I'm just looking forward to using the simulator over the next few weeks.
3,000 more times until
every
draft
single
day.
I'm going to be using it 24/7. I'm actually going to be doing that.
I'd say where I'm going to log at least 100 attempts in the simulator, probably more. I'm trying to be generous. I mean, it makes you sound like a complete lunatic, but like, I don't know. Late at night, you're bored. Just like, all right, let me boot up some simulator and just see what type of team I can build. I'm feeling pretty good about this Justin Fields. So yeah, let us know what you think. Tweet us your teams. Everybody have a great day, and as always, folks, don't let the Jets ruin your life.